Squad has had a major shake-up in the meta with the arrival of the new Western Private Military Contractors faction. Yes, the hired gun update adds, for the first time to Squad, a non-nation-state faction to the battlefield, complete with new weapons, new vehicle options. But how does all that change the game, and is it worth playing? I'm LCTR. If you're a fan of Milsim games, then please do tap that subscribe button, and if you enjoyed the video, the old thumb up too. Support is very much appreciated. If you've been a player who's been waiting for a shake-up in the Squad meta, then the arrival of the Western PMC is probably exactly what you're after. I don't recall another faction having such a widespread impact. Other factions have had similar levels of content before, new weapons, vehicles and so on, but the ubiquity of Western PMC across all maps and layers means their impact really is felt across the game. So if you want the one sentence summing up of the new faction, then I'd feel like I want to go a bit boomer and say they're kind of like the Scout from Team Fortress 2. Stay with me here. They're fast, they're very powerful up close, but they have a bit of reach. But if you're not moving, then you're probably doing it wrong. It's early days for sure, they're the new shiny toy that everyone wants to play with, so a more established meta will probably develop, but when the PMC is given the opportunity to deploy their speed, they feel incredibly powerful against any opposition at the moment. That's my experience at least. As such, playing them feels new and different. There's a real glass cannon vulnerability to most of their vehicles the other factions don't really experience. But as long as you're foot to the floor towards the next objective, you're probably going to be fine, or at least, hopefully. The highlights of the new vehicles are really the new CPV armoured car, especially an SUV with an optional top-mounted minigun, and the Loach helicopter. It looks like the little bird heli that you might have seen in the Battlefield games. The new CPV is arguably the most fun vehicle in the game, and might arguably actually be at the limits of the vehicle handling that Squad currently offers. It's pretty fast regardless of terrain, really plays into that whole kind of ragtag, use whatever feel that the Western PMC has. The optional top-mounted minigun on the CPV is also an immediate favourite, not just for effectiveness, it's also the drama of just that ripping noise that it makes. So if you ever wanted to drive an A10 strafing run, now is your chance. It's not perfect though. The vehicle physics, as I mentioned, feel like they're being stretched to sometimes uncomfortable limits. Squad was never Gran Turismo, but that gap has never been so keenly felt. The minigun 2 seems to also have numerous reports of lowering the FPS of nearby players. I haven't noticed that directly myself, but I can imagine there's a potential for a rapid-firing weapon to sort of cause issue. And on a semi-side note, I also noticed that the game does, on occasion, seem to hitch rather badly on the first instance of something happening in-game. Like, for example, an explosion, but then all subsequent explosions are fine. I've always taken that to be a sort of Unreal Engine loading event that causes a hiccup, and I'm guessing that sort of thing might feel worse with the minigun nearby, but I do want to talk about performance later on as well. The nimble Loach helicopter, on the other hand, hasn't had the impact that I initially sort of presumed it would. I'm not much of a Squad pilot, the training range is about as far as I fly, but from my perspective, it's sort of comparatively difficult bird for novices to wrestle with. Down on ground level, I've not seen many Loaches fly around either. My limited testing offline showed that the minigun and rocket pods felt fun to use, but disappointingly, I haven't seen a single strafing run in a server since launch. But if you are a pilot, what is your opinion on the Loach? Or if you're a more boots-on-the-ground player who's noticed them more, then do leave a comment below, as I'm interested to know your opinions. Is the Loach not well balanced, or is it not powerful enough? Let me know your thoughts. The Western PMC Weapons also have that feeling of a force that's operating outside the stricter provisioning supply chains that modern nation-state forces obviously have. Weapons have a more custom feel with differing types of sights, rails, stocks, and so on. And overall, I'm universally positive about the Western PMC being added to Squad. The people in the game who I've played alongside seem to always want to pick that faction, so in that rather unscientific and subjective test alone, seems like a positive response. A word about the new DLC that Squad recently added. There's been a number of weapon skin packages that now seem the norm when a larger update arrives. I'd say there's a feeling in the player base that doesn't really mind these additions now. The unsquad-like potential of something like Call of Duty weapon skins seems to be no longer a concern. And from my point of view, they all seem pretty in keeping with the overall tone of the game. And in fact, I'd like to see a sort of even more worn variants of the skins too. These sort of skins are the ones I advocated for a long while back. In fact, I think at that time, the only skins that were available were the ones for the small number of initial Kickstarter backers, if I recall correctly. I'm not saying I'm some sort of big shot Nostradamus for seeing this potential squad development. Obviously, that's for other people to point out. But I'm happy that the current options are hopefully providing additional revenue to help sustain the development of the game without adding things that would feel out of character for squad. Performance is increasingly something of a mixed bag. I'm never expecting Counter-Strike levels of performance in a 100-player massive map combined arms game, but it's the dips that really feel bad to me. I've got a semi-recent machine. I've got a 5000 series AMD CPU, I've got a 3000 series NVIDIA GPU. I like to play with some level of visual eye candy. For the most part, I can keep it in that 70 to 100 FPS sort of sweet spot. Lowering into the 60s is okay if I'm in a dense area with a lot of action, but below that isn't okay. I talked about the hitching already once. That stutter that you first encounter and something happens in the game is a real problem for me. It even happens in the training range. I spawn in with a normal soldier kit, fire the rifle. That first shot will be accompanied with a large notable dip in performance, like a hitch. And as I've said on this channel before, inconsistent performance often feels worse than lower performance. 130 FPS with hitching is much worse than a stable 80. Consistent frame pacing matters, so when the game can throw in one of these large hitches seemingly at random, it really starts to undermine the experience. And in addition, I also experience some maps where the performance is just massively worse than others. For some reason, the Scorpo map has me running in the 40 to 50 FPS range, pretty much anywhere in the center of the map. I wonder, and I hope really, that there's a long-term plan to move Squad from the UE4 engine to UE5. There seems to be a number of new techniques that allow for better rendering of forest areas, which, for the record, are often the worst-case scenarios for performance demands. I understand that moving major versions of a game engine is not the task of a moment, and that's putting it somewhat lightly. There will be years of custom game logic, methods used to create assets, and so on, and all that can't be accommodated at the click of a checkbox. But I would like to see some sort of plan or roadmap for how Squad's performance is going to be tackled moving forward. But again, what is your experience of performance in Squad? Do you have some sort of godlike settings that can help? Or maybe you just want to vent? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always surprised just how much Squad is the king of milsim games in terms of player base. Titles such as Hell Let Loose are popular and are arguably even broader in their design and experience than Squad, but it's around 3 to 4 times smaller than Squad's daily peak concurrent users. Of course, Hell Let Loose launched into its early access in mid-2019, whereas Squad launched into their early access at the end of 2015. So both games have a situation where a significant proportion of their player base probably haven't paid anything towards the ongoing development of the game for a number of years. Hell Let Loose and Squad have taken similar yet different routes to solving this ongoing revenue need, with DLC packs for in-keeping cosmetic additions to the game for players. Admirably, neither has gone with the gameplay affecting or community slicing routes of gating playable content to DLC packs though. Squad at the moment is in a very healthy position for a free-to-play title, so for a paid game in 2024, for a milsim, to have 25 to 30k peak daily players is really very impressive. And coming back to Squad, I do notice the extra demands that the game makes of players. There's something about the modern battlefield that feels more fragmented and overwhelming than any of the World War II milsims that I also play. Perhaps it's something to do with the enhanced mobility, I'm not sure. But the thing that always strikes me about coming back is how almost universally great the community is. It's squad leads helping other squad leads find tools and menus, people laughing and joking in the downtimes, and just the jokes and the memes that spring up as you play. The size of the community shows that Squad strikes a favourable tone for a lot of people, even with a number of alternatives on the market. The pace of development and the quality of what's being made is in a good place too. Just those performance issues that blunt some of that ground being made. I'd love to see a concerted effort being made in this direction in future updates. It's a game about teamwork and combined arms, coordination over everything else. That the community has embraced that whilst being open to new players and having fun is a testament to the sort of people who play Squad. So if that sounds like you, then Squad delivers some of the best experiences in gaming and is well worth your time. So what do you think of Squad? Have you been enjoying this recent Western PMC update? Do you have any strong thoughts about how it's changed the meta of the game? Let me know all your powerful thoughts and feelings, leaving a comment below right now. Like always, I'll be reading every single one of them. If you did enjoy this video, please do tap that thumb up button and press that subscribe button too. It's free, it helps me out a lot, and it lets you know when the next video is ready. Thank you so much for watching, and for all your continued support. I'll see you next time. Take care.
Mine.